Procrastination and dopamine function. When I first seriously committed to changing my life, I was driven by an intense sense of motivation. After a long period of numbness and escape, I suddenly felt clarity, energy, and even excitement. It felt like I had finally aligned with something meaningful. Every new idea brought a surge of good feeling, almost a quiet euphoria. My mind became fast and creative, opening connection after connection. The future seemed full of possibility. The problem was that there were too many ideas. Every day, new projects, new insights, and new directions appeared. I wanted to understand everything, improve everything, and do everything right. But my body could not keep up with the speed of my thoughts. Turning ideas into reality required time, patience, and physical energy. My brain, however, naturally looked for efficiency. Instead of pushing me into action, it guided me toward thinking, because thinking costs less physical energy than doing. So I spent more and more time in my head. At first, this mental activity felt productive. I analyzed my past, searched for patterns, and imagined better futures. But slowly, something shifted. My thoughts stopped leading to action. One idea triggered another, and then another, until I was moving in circles. Instead of clarity, tension appeared. Instead of progress, I felt mentally exhausted. Thinking quietly transformed into rumination. I began replaying the same scenarios over and over, worries, imagined outcomes, unresolved questions. I tried to anticipate every possible problem, to control the future through thought alone. The motivation that once lifted me now turned into pressure. Each unrealized idea became evidence that I was failing. The more I thought, the heavier the weight became. With rumination came stress. My nervous system stayed constantly alert, as if something were about to go wrong. My sleep became shallow, my body tense, my attention scattered. In this state, maintaining abstinence from alcohol became increasingly difficult. Alcohol had once been my fastest way to silence my mind, to escape the noise inside. Even though I knew it was destructive, the stress created by rumination reopened old pathways of desire. Ironically, the very thinking that was meant to protect me from mistakes ended up strengthening my addiction. The stress fueled the craving, and the craving intensified the stress. Alcohol didn't solve the problem, it only postponed it, yet my brain remembered it as relief. In this way, rumination didn't just challenge my sobriety, it actively undermined it. Over time, I began to understand that motivation itself was not the enemy. The problem was ungrounded motivation, energy without direction, ideas without action. My brain was trying to conserve energy and avoid risk by keeping me in thought instead of movement. But life does not happen in the mind alone. Only when I started taking small, concrete actions did the cycle begin to break. Action gave my thoughts an endpoint. It allowed the nervous system to relax and restored a sense of proportion. The thoughts did not disappear, but they lost their power to dominate me. Today, I no longer seek constant mental control or endless improvement. I aim for balance, between thinking and doing, ambition and restraint. That balance has become essential not only for my sobriety, but for my ability to live with myself in peace. Brief overview of dopamine, motivation, and why difficult tasks feel unappealing. The role of dopamine in motivation. How dopamine drives reward-seeking behavior and contributes to procrastination loops. Dopamine plays a central role in procrastination because it regulates motivation, reward anticipation, and effort. When the brain expects a reward, dopamine levels rise and push us toward action. Tasks that feel difficult, boring, or emotionally uncomfortable, however, produce little dopamine, so the brain resists initiating them. Short-term rewards versus long-term goals. Why distractions like social media and entertainment hijack motivation. Procrastination occurs when the brain chooses short-term dopamine rewards over long-term goals. Activities like social media, entertainment, or other distractions provide quick dopamine with minimal effort, making them more attractive than demanding tasks. Avoiding a challenging task also reduces stress, which the brain interprets as a reward, further reinforcing procrastination. Habit loops, discomfort delay relief. How repeated avoidance reinforces procrastination and affects the brain. Over time, repeated avoidance strengthens this habit loop, discomfort delay dopamine relief. This teaches the brain to associate effort with discomfort and avoidance with reward. Reducing procrastination requires retraining the dopamine system, lowering instant rewards, breaking tasks into manageable steps, and creating consistent, effort-based sources of satisfaction instead of relying on quick dopamine hits. Evolutionary roots of modern distractions. How our survival-focused brains struggle with abundance and instant pleasure today. Humans evolved in a world full of dangers. The brain developed to constantly monitor threats for survival, not for abundance. Today, however, we live in a world of relative safety and easy access to pleasure. We no longer need to fight for food or hide from predators. Instead, we can instantly buy pleasure or distraction. Evolutionary perspective on modern distractions. How our survival-focused brains struggle with abundance and instant pleasure today. Nature, however, teaches that satisfaction must still be earned. Quick shortcuts may feel rewarding temporarily, but they rarely lead to lasting fulfillment. This mismatch between ancient brain wiring and modern abundance contributes to procrastination, overthinking, and even stress-related disorders. Thinking, overthinking, and problem-solving. The difference between productive problem-solving and mental loops that trap us. The brain is designed to solve problems. Every impulse, whether external, like the sound of a phone, or internal, such as a memory or emotion, triggers the brain's problem-solving machinery. Thinking deeply is beneficial because it helps anticipate future events and find optimal solutions, which historically increased chances of survival. Deep thinking follows a productive loop. A problem arises, the brain considers solutions, tests outcomes, and either solves the problem or returns to the task until a suitable solution is found. This loop ends with action or resolution. Overthinking, by contrast, is thinking without testing solutions. One thought leads to another without action, creating endless mental loops. This wastes energy, prevents progress, and generates stress without solving the problem. Introducing new problems before resolving existing ones can overwhelm the brain, triggering anxiety and compounding mental strain. The anxiety loop and ruminative thinking. How overthinking leads to anxiety. Excessive thinking can lead to rumination, especially when driven by anxiety. Anxiety stems from excessive fear of the future, speculating about potential threats or negative outcomes. The amygdala detects these perceived threats, amplifying their importance, while the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, becomes less able to regulate these emotional responses. The negative spiral, too many unresolved problems. Why giving the brain multiple unsolved problems amplifies anxiety. When the limbic system dominates, conscious problem-solving is replaced by worry, rumination, and fear. Thoughts no longer lead to solutions but generate further stress, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of anxiety. In contrast, conscious, deliberate thinking, guided by the prefrontal cortex, remains productive and adaptive. Subconscious or emotionally driven thinking, however, often harms more than it helps. Understanding these mechanisms allows us to design strategies, breaking tasks into manageable steps, retraining dopamine responses, and consciously engaging problem-solving circuits that reduce procrastination, manage anxiety, and restore mental clarity.